So the concepts of diversity and inclusion and common humanity are linked together because the idea is, in order to value diversity and to see people who are not similar to you as equally human, as just as human as you are, we need to focus on the commonalities. And what we oftentimes do in this culture, I mean American culture, we focus on the differences we have with each other rather than what's common among us. And that focus on difference, well, I understand the necessity to do that because we all do have different experiences from each other, especially if we come from different parts of the world. But the reality is if we start from a place of difference, we're never going to understand the commonality, and we're never going to understand that, in fact, when I go to sleep at night, and when you go to sleep at night, we have the same fears fundamentally, we have the same desires fundamentally. And so we need to start from a place of commonality. If we start from a place of commonality, then we can appreciate the difference in a more humane way, rather than just saying you're different from me and thus I can't really relate to what you're saying. To say we're very, very similar to each other. We share a common humanity. And then the question is, from that place of commonality, what are the ways in which your experience is different from my experience? And I can hear that in a way that's more accepting and more inclusive than simply saying, you're different and I've been told that I have to value that difference. At the root of it, at the root of all these terms, is a desire for human connection and the importance of human connection. And so if we call it what it is, the desire and the importance of human connection, then we all understand what we're talking about. When we sort of embed it in a language that sounds perhaps more sophisticated, who knows, it sounds more professionally driven, like inclusivity, my take would be it further alienates us from the fundamentals of the concept, which is the importance of human connection. We live in a culture where we idealize the self, we idealize the individual, even in cases where it's clearly something like Apple, someone like Steve Jobs, who clearly worked together with other people to build his company, to build his product. You rarely hear about them. You hear about Steve Jobs and his brilliance. And when you actually unpack great leaders, they always come from a community, from a collective that helped them get where they are. But we have a tendency to want to see the individual rather than the group. Somehow we think if you show that you were working as a group, it will diminish your individual effort. And so because we make that bizarre equation that if it's with another person, somehow it diminishes the self, that we don't tend to emphasize the fact that we did this collectively or with a group. The focus on human connection is really changing the whole framework to understand that in essence we are social human beings, we work socially, we succeed socially. The fundamental thing is that our culture is at odds with our human nature. And this again is not my opinion. This is based from the neuroscience, the evolutionary anthropology, the biology, the developmental psychology that really shows that we are, as humans, we are deeply social beings. Charles Darwin even said that our social capacity is what has allowed us to thrive as a species. The interesting thing that the research shows is that you think better, your physical health is actually improved when you're connected. There's all sorts of health-based research that shows when you're actually in a deeply connected community, you are less likely to get colds and flus and various kinds of diseases. You're less likely to die of diseases when you're in a connected community. So the idea that human connection is beneficial for you in all sorts of ways. But in terms of how to hold on to that, core humanity, it really is finding a community, finding other people who value the kinds of values you have, and then having conversations about it, figuring out all sorts of ways you can foster it within your own community, within your own neighborhood, with your own group of friends, to foster that sense of human connection. And then also, just talking to a lot of people about it, because I'm amazed at how much things get spread just through conversation, just through talks, just through all sorts of ways we communicate that can foster that kind of value that we need to have and share with each other to thrive.